Tensions are quietly simmering inside Labour's top team, and this week those cracks became impossible to ignore. Keir Starmer has publicly corrected his own Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, right as Britain faces critical trade talks with the US. What led to this unusual moment? And what does it reveal about Labour's direction and Britain's standing on the world stage? Let's take a closer look at what really happened and why it matters. Let's break it down. But first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. Something explosive is brewing inside Labour's top ranks, and the fallout is rocking Britain's political scene. Sir Keir Starmer, Labour's leader and the man hoping to steer the country through choppy economic waters, has just publicly slapped down his own Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, in a move that's sending shockwaves from Westminster to Washington. Let's set the stage. It was supposed to be a high-stakes diplomatic week, with Chancellor Reeves jetting out to Washington, D.C. to hold crunch talks with US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. The UK is desperate right now, desperate for a trade breakthrough that could soften the economic body blows from Donald Trump's newly reimposed tariffs. We're talking 10% tariffs on all UK exports to the United States, and a brutal 25% slap on British cars, steel and aluminium. For any government, this would be a make or break moment. But just as these talks were set to begin, Rachel Reeves made a stunning declaration, one that instantly set alarm bells ringing back in London and raised eyebrows across the Atlantic. Speaking to the BBC, Reeves said, "I understand why there's so much focus on our trading relationship with the US, but actually our trading relationship with Europe is arguably even more important, because they're our nearest neighbours and trading partners." Let that sink in. At the precise moment Britain needs Washington on side, the Chancellor stands on US soil and suggests the EU is actually our bigger priority. This isn't just a slip of the tongue. Reeves doubled down, proudly listing meetings with the finance ministers of France, Germany, Spain, Poland, Sweden, and Finland, all to rebuild those trading relationships. For anyone listening, it sounded like a direct snub to the Americans and an open invitation for Brussels to take center stage. Cue panic in number 10. Within hours, Keir Starmer had to step in. Hard. The last thing he wants is to be seen as picking Brussels over Washington, especially with Trump's allies watching for the slightest hint of weakness or disloyalty. Starmer, who has spent months carefully positioning himself as the pragmatic dealmaker who can reset Brexit relations and forge a new partnership with Trump, found himself caught in a public showdown with his own Chancellor. His official spokesman wasted no time. The message was blunt. Both the EU and the US are incredibly important to the UK. It is not a binary choice. In other words, Reeves had gone off script and Starmer was making sure everyone, especially the Americans, knew he wasn't about to jeopardize that special relationship. But the damage was done. For weeks, senior Trump allies have been pushing Britain to pick a side. Are we with Europe or are we with the United States? Starmer has always dismissed this as a false choice. Now, with Reeves's comments going viral, the perception of a divided front at the very top of government was impossible to ignore. And this isn't just about optics or headlines. Behind closed doors, serious questions are being asked about Labour's economic strategy and whether Starmer really has control over his team. The stakes couldn't be higher. The government is under mounting pressure to secure a US trade deal that can blunt the impact of Trump's tariffs. Every day without progress means more pain for British exporters, more uncertainty for UK jobs, and more ammunition for the opposition. Meanwhile, Reeves has tried to project strength and independence, insisting there's a deal to be done with Washington, but also drawing clear red lines. She's ruled out concessions on food standards that would open the door to more American agricultural imports, and rejected demands for changes to UK online safety laws. The Americans want access, the Europeans want loyalty, and the British public want answers. Even as Reeves works to remove trade barriers with European and Canadian partners, she's had to admit just how tense the situation has become. At the latest G20 meetings, she acknowledged difficult conversations and strains in the global economic order. The reality is that uncertainty is now Labour's biggest enemy, scaring off investors and leaving British industries in limbo. All of this leads back to the big question. Can Keir Starmer keep his government united at a moment when every word is being scrutinised by foreign powers, financial markets, and the British public? The public slapdown of Rachel Reeves was brutal, but perhaps necessary for Starmer to reassert control and keep Britain's international ambitions alive. But one thing's clear, this very public rift has exposed cracks at the top. And in a week where Britain needed strength and clarity, all we got was chaos and confusion. The world is watching, the Americans are waiting, and Labour's leadership just found out what happens when the mask slips and the family feuds go public. Stay tuned, because the next move from Starmer and Reeves could decide not just the fate of Labour, but the future of Britain's place on the world stage. In other news, Britons have shared mixed reactions to claims that workless youths won't get out of bed for less than £40,000 a year. The comments come in response to a testimony given to the Lord's Social Mobility Policy Committee by Graham Cowley, who works with young people not in employment, education or training in Blackpools. Cowley told the committee that workless youths who are on the internet 24 hours a day refuse to work for less than £40,000 a year. Speaking about this, one young person said, "I mean, it's not really much to get by on, is it? Especially in London. I think it's tough for anyone who's young right now." Another person claimed, "When I was in my 20s, that would have been a lot of money. I don't think £40,000 is a lot now, but I think it goes far enough." A third added, "Look, I'm not on £40,000 a year. People are just going to go on the dole, so it's whatever you want to do. Personally, I think the best thing is to work. What are you going to do? Be on benefits for the rest of your life? No way. I'd say get a job. Your money's going to go up sooner or later, so just crack on with it." A fourth told the People's Channel, "I think it's always worth it, but here in London, you'd really be struggling to survive on a day-to-day basis. If you live somewhere outside of London, like in the Greater London area, maybe more towards Kingston, you could try and make it work. But having lived up north for decades, it makes a big difference there compared to London." Cowley told the committee that workless youths who are on the internet 24 hours a day refuse to work for less than £40,000 a year. His remarks were made during an inquiry examining why nearly 1 million 16 to 24-year-olds across the UK are neither working nor studying. The testimony delivered yesterday prompted gasps from committee members as Cowley described the expectations of some young people he encounters through his work. Cowley informed the committee that a colleague had recently told him there were kids on the internet 24 hours a day, and they don't want to work for anything less than £40,000. As part of Labour's response to these challenges, Work and Pensions Secretary Liz Kendall is planning a youth guarantee for 18 to 21-year-olds. The initiative would require mayors and local authorities to ensure young people have access to apprenticeships, training and education opportunities, or assistance with finding jobs. Those who refuse to take up work and training opportunities would lose their benefits, the government has warned. Sir Keir Starmer has described the number of inactive young Britons as a moral issue, with the Prime Minister warning of a wasted generation. What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you have not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.